It's Mob Movie Monday, and today, by popular demand, we're going to review The Sopranos. Everybody, welcome to another Sit Down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody's doing well. Today is Mob Movie Monday, and we got a good one for you today. A lot of requests for this one. We're going to get into it right away. Quickly, the books. I got them up there because I'm getting a lot of requests. Christmas time, everybody's looking for gifts. You buy them on my website, store.michaelfranzese.com. I will autograph them. A little bit more expensive there, I gotta be honest with you. You can get them on Amazon, everywhere else. They're not autographed, but if you want an autographed copy from me, store.michaelfranzese.com, or you can buy them on Facebook, Instagram. I think we have stores on there also. So that's that. So The Sopranos, gosh, I got so many requests from all of you about this television show. And let me say it this way. Probably, if not the greatest, certainly one of the top two greatest television series of all times. It was groundbreaking at the time that it came out. A lot of things were cloned after that. Series were cloned after the success of The Sopranos. It was an amazing series. It won every kind of award you can imagine. It ran for 6 seasons, I think 80 plus episodes, and it was brilliantly done, and I have to say that. A quick little story that some of you heard, but I always have new people tuning in, so I have to say this. 1995, I'm out on parole, and I'm working at a friend's studio over at Universal Studios, actually. And I get a call through my agent at the time, Jack Gilardi, famous agent at ICM, passed away not too long ago. Love Jack, who was married to Annette Funicello, remember, from the Mickey Mouse Club? And a great guy. And he gives me a call and he says, Mike, a guy by the name of David Chase wants to speak to you about a TV series that he's putting together for Fox at the time. And he said he'd like to talk to you, maybe bring you on as a consultant. Well, I was working for a friend at that time, just reading some scripts, trying to stay out of trouble while I was on parole. Make a long story short, I turned it down. Didn't want to do it because I was just out on parole. I didn't think I should get involved in a mob, show at that point in time. Just goes to show you how smart I was. And it turned out to be, Fox turned it down, for some reason didn't go there, which I think was great because they had a lot more leeway and leverage on HBO to do it the way they should have done it. HBO picked it up and the rest is history. But that was my, little connection to that. And I always say that I thought that one of the characters, the mom, Tony Soprano's mom, might have been loosely based upon my mother because there was a bug in my house and a lot of conversation between my mother, my dad, the kids came out. And I have a feeling that David Chase got a hold of that. I can't verify it. I don't know it for a fact. I never spoke to him about it. But I had a feeling that's one of the reasons why he might have gotten in touch with me. Who knows? Anyway, great series. And let me tell you this, we talked about art imitating life. And I think that's what they tried to do with The Sopranos. And they captured it in a big way. The mob family was supposed to be loosely based upon the Jersey Crew, the DeCavalcanti family. And again, I don't know how tightly written it was about that family, but it was loosely based upon it. And I'm going to talk about, now we can go on for this for a while. It lasted 6 seasons. It was 80 some odd episodes. But I want to talk about episode 1 and 2 because that's when it was set up. And really, I think what it was set up to show is the dysfunction of most families who have somebody, a dad, that's a participant in the mob life. That's what I got out of it. Now, I'm going to be honest, I didn't watch all 6 seasons religiously. I did watch season 1, thought it was brilliant, got into season 2, kind of fell off for me after that, and sporadically I would watch an episode here and there. But I love the characters, I love the writing on it, even though I wouldn't say it was 100% realistic, they did capture a lot of the realism of that life. And again, brilliantly done. You can never argue with the success of that show. So let's talk about it a little bit. Let's set it up. You got Tony Soprano, who was kind of the acting boss. He was really the boss of the family, although he wasn't official at that point in time. I'm not going to get into the whole story because, most of you have seen it, but those of you that haven't, HBO Go, wherever you got to go, watch it. It was a brilliant series. You're going to love it. So Tony is the kind of acting boss, underboss of the family, but he's got a problem. He's got an anxiety problem. And he kind of passes out, at one point in time. He's barbecuing something. He passes out, goes into the hospital. It turns out he's having panic attacks. So he goes to see a therapist, psychiatrist, whatever. She plays a brilliant role. Lorraine Bracco was terrific as the psychiatrist, and he starts to open up to the psychiatrist. Now, many people have asked me about that role. Is it real, Michael? What would happen if he was going to a psychiatrist? I will tell you this, and I'm going to prove it a little bit later on in the series. If a mob boss was ever seeing a psychiatrist, he would be in deep trouble. Why? Because what would he be doing there? He'd be revealing secrets, talking about his innermost thoughts. You can't do that with somebody outside of their life. Now, somebody will throw back and say, Frank Costello was doing that. He did it for a very limited period of time. And when his psychiatrist told him he had to walk away from the life, Costello got rid of him. Nothing happened to Costello after that. You know the story. He eventually got out of the life. But you cannot be visiting a psychiatrist and be in that position in life. You would not last. You'd end up in the trunk of the car, maybe with the psychiatrist. Trust me on that. But anyway, he's seeing a psychiatrist, and it's great because it shows the dysfunction of his family. His wife and him, she was brilliant also in that role, Carmela. They had a dysfunctional relationship, no doubt about it. She knew that he was cheating on her. And it was dysfunctional, and she did not back down. She was not, what could I say, a quiet mob wife. She let Tony know her feelings, and she did that in a couple of scenes. You saw that right away. It was established immediately. So Tony is dealing with this psychological problem like many mob families. Look, my family was totally dysfunctional. There's no question about it. Sister dies an overdose of drugs. You know the story with my brother, drug addict, eventually turned informant. My mother and dad separated for all of those years. My mother was kind of neurotic in that regard. I had my own issues at the time, definitely dysfunctional. And many families of the mob were like the Sopranos in that they were dysfunctional. In that family, he had, a son and a daughter. And the daughter in that family, Jamie Sigler, who happened to go to school in Jericho, Long Island, with my kids. They knew each other then. She was a great kid. And, she was always, in conflict with her mom. And, a lot of it was because of the interaction between, Tony Soprano and his wife and, Tony's odd ways and odd habits and so on and so forth. And you could tell there was tension in that family. The son, he just was kind of a lazy kid, didn't really care about much, wasn't, at least early on, things changed a little bit later, but at least early on in the opening 2 episodes, that's how he was. Again, brilliantly acted. Tony starts to bring his crew together there. For those of you that know Tony Sirico, Paulie Walnut's in there. I love Tony Sirico. He's great. I did meet him. I was actually in a little documentary with him one time. He's a brilliant actor. He captures the role terrifically. And he was one of the loyal soldiers for, old school guy, soldiers for Tony. And then, of course, you got Vincent Pastore, who played Big Pussy. Love Vincent Pastore. He was in the original HBO Gotti movie with Armand DeSanti. He was terrific then. He played Quack Quack. And he was brilliant in The Sopranos. You'll see how the story goes if you get into it. But they're like Tony's 2 trusted guys, most trusted guys. They're old school, and Tony trusts them for their loyalty and for their knowledge of the life, and he leans on them to do certain things. Christopher, Michael Imperiale character. That character in the beginning wasn't real to me. He was supposedly related to Tony, but the way he talked to Tony, he was kind of a hothead, a little drug user, was doing heists and so on and so forth. But the way he spoke to Tony, his big deal is he wanted to get made. He wanted to become a member of that life. And Tony was just telling him, be patient. But he would talk to Tony in a way that you don't talk to made guys. I don't care if you're related or not. So there was, that was unrealistic to me. I'm going to be honest with you. In my whole time in that life, I've never seen a guy that wasn't made talk back to a made guy. Didn't happen in my crew. People were always respectful. I tried to give them respect too, but I never saw that happen. You know, guys that were around, you didn't talk back. I don't care if you were related or not. He kind of reminded me of my brother a little bit. Kind of a hothead, you know, wanted to get made, but always kind of in trouble, doing these small heists and things like that, and doing the drugs, and kind of reminded me of in a way, of my brother. And as the series develops, he's in and out of a lot of trouble, causes Tony a lot of aggravation. Then you got Uncle Junior, who I think Dominic Giannese, his name is, something like that. Played a brilliant role. He was terrific. He was kind of always upset that he wasn't the real boss of the family. He was Tony's father's brother. And he was kind of always, you know, second rate. You know, even Tony Soprano had more stature in the family than he did. And Junior always felt that, you know, it should have been his position. So there's kind of a rocky relationship between Tony Soprano and his Uncle Junior. And I've seen that, you know, many times in my life, you know, and as I'm describing this, I'm telling you, this is kind of the realistic part of The Sopranos. Tony's mother played a brilliant role. You know, she's like almost any Italian grandmother. You know, they're ready to die any minute. They're very, very dramatic. They want to be waited on hand and foot, even though they don't ask for it. They want you to do it on their own. And she was always she was always kind of a burden to Tony. Tony's trying to get her to go into not a nursing home, into a senior living home, because she really can't be alone. You know, she sets her house on fire, one thing. She drives into a neighbor of hers or a friend of hers. She shouldn't be alone, but she's resisting it. She's not going into a nursing home. She misses her husband, who was a saint. She's always giving Tony a hard time. You know, she doesn't like Carmela because Carmela didn't cater to her. You know, all that stuff. And believe me, I witnessed all. If you're Italian, you've probably witnessed this if you've been around a while, especially the old school Italians. So in that regard, you know, this was great. We do see Chris do a hit. You know, he does kill somebody in the first episode, I believe. And, you know, trying to make his bones, trying to do something to become a made guy. I don't think he did it with permission. He got in trouble for it, if I remember. And they do have a scene about that, you know. But again, episode 1 and 2, I thought were pretty realistic and really did set up the show. And honestly, there is a scene there, I got to mention, that I thought was terrific. And it's between Tony and his wife, Carmela. They're out eating. And Tony had not told Carmela that he was seeing a psychiatrist. She obviously knew he was having these panic attacks, which he was embarrassed to say. Panic attacks, I'm a made guy, I'm a boss, how do I get that? But he sits down with her and he says, I have to tell you something, and I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. And she's like, okay, what is this about? No, you're going to tell me you're cheating on me, something like that? And he says to her, if I remember, I'm taking Prozac and I'm seeing a psychiatrist. And she thought that was the greatest thing in the world. Oh, that's terrific, Tony. It was funny how she reacted. Instead of, you know, really, what's wrong? How are you? You know, what's going on? You know, tell me, it's your health. She's the happiest person in the world that he's on Prozac and he's getting some psychiatric help. It was a really scene. Like I said, she's a strong woman in this. You know, a lot of people have this image of mob wives just sitting there, never mentioning anything to their husbands, just, you know, closing their eyes to everything. Not so. I mean, my mother certainly wasn't like that. She stood up to my dad in every which way possible. Carmela does the same with Tony Soprano. She stands up to him, you know, in every which way. And I think that was accurately depicted, you know, in this first episode. And episode 1 and 2, actually. So again, this whole episode 1 and 2 set up the dysfunction of a mob family and what a mob guy has to go through. And boy, I related a lot of that to myself, because trying to hold my family together, trying to hold my mob business together, trying to keep my sanity, trying to keep law enforcement off my back, which again, Tony has to do there. You know, Tony was kind of a hothead. You know, I'm not going to say that, you know, I was a hothead, but I had my moments, you know, when things got to me. And I think you keep it inside of you, and then all of a sudden, boom, you erupt, because all this stuff there's a lot of tension in that life. And it's there all the time, and all the guys have to go through it. There's no question about it. So in these first 2 episodes, I think it sets up the series the right way. Very intriguing, pulls you in, and brilliant acting, brilliant writing, and yes, art imitating life very much in the first 2 seasons. So that's it for today. I'm going to continue, but again, love this series. If you haven't seen it, go on HBO Go, whatever. It will draw you in. You know, every time I try to get out, they pull me back. It will draw you in. You're going to love it. And we will continue with The Sopranos. If you have any questions, comments about it, things you want me to, questions you want me to answer about the series, whatever, send them in and we'll deal with them as we go along. So that's it for today. MichaelFranzese.com. The community is growing. You know, we have, I think, well over 8,000. We're almost at 9,000 members, and you people are getting so much out of it. YouTube, keep subscribing. We give you the alerts. We got a lot of interviews set up, hopefully for early next year when COVID allows us to. Right now, it's a problem. By the way, one of Mike Tyson, we were supposed to get together shortly, but one of his close team members got sick, and so that's put off just a little bit. You know, hopefully he's going to be okay, but that is on the schedule. It's coming up soon. So we got a lot of things planned. So that's it for today. Again, holiday season, make the best of it. You know, do what you got to do. Get into the spirit. You know, it comes only once every year and we move forward. So how do I leave you? Always the same way. Be safe, be healthy. God bless you all, and I'll see you next time.